So the speaker recognizes Diego Lebron presenting the 51st state plan. He is a Democrat from New York. Diego, you have 4 minutes and you may begin now.
Good evening, senators, congressmen and women. Thank you for having me up today. It's a well-known fact that Puerto Rican citizens they're citizens of the United States. Anyone who lives in Puerto Rico, they're given a U.S. passport, they follow U.S. laws, they are a member of this great nation. However, they have been recognized only as a commonwealth. Up until this point, they've only been recognized as a commonwealth. They haven't had the full access that everyone else in the U.S. has. So they do not have proper representation in Congress. They only have someone there to speak on their behalf, but they don't have a vote in Congress. They don't have a vote for president. They don't have any real representation, and that is just not right. As an island, Puerto Rico has held 3 different referendums that average out to 70% of the population wishing to join the US. That's a large majority of an island that has a larger population than 18 states in the US and is larger than the 4 bottom states combined. It's a lot of people, and they don't have a voice, and this has caused a lot of problems in the past. For instance, when they get hurricanes, which is quite common on the island, they don't receive the funding needed to help them out. They don't get the help they need, the money they need to repair their island, because they don't have anyone voting for them. So, I propose to bring Puerto Rico into the United States as the 51st state. This would allow for the people of Puerto Rico to finally have a voice in this great democracy, something that they have not had in the past. It would also, and this is beneficial to us, we would be able to have them pay federal income tax. They would follow federal laws a lot more strictly, which they already do. So there would be a lot of benefits to adding Puerto Rico as the 51st state. The island wouldn't get any bigger. The laws wouldn't really change because they already follow our US laws. They already have a constitution that is acceptable by the US Constitution as acceptable to being a state. They have a Republican form of government, they're a democracy, they follow all the rules already. So adding them is not a large issue. All we would have to do is expand the Senate and temporarily expand the House of Representatives to allow for them to have a voice over here until a census can happen and we can redo the allocations of representatives. And funding would not be very much because, like I said, they're already US citizens. They're already part of the United States. All that's doing is granting them the ability to actually have a vote in Congress. So my request of you guys is please vote to allow for Puerto Rico to become the 51st state of the United States. Any questions?
Representative Joshua?
So you mentioned how the 3 referendums averaged 70%, but looking at the 2021 alone, the most recent one, it's only a very slim majority of 52%. So is it really something people of Puerto Rico want? It
is, because the 2021 was not 52%, it was 98%. It's actually been an increase over time, and that is partly due to the increase of need based on the recent hurricanes that happened on the island.
Those numbers, that 98% is the percentage of Puerto Ricans who legally voted. It's only 52 who opted for stateside.
Well, that's still a large majority of the island, especially.
Time is over. I am very sorry. We will now move into voting procedure. The House of Representatives will now begin the voting process. This will be public voting this time, so there is no need to lower your heads. However, I would like to remind you all, you can abstain from voting, and the representative presenting the bill still has the power to vote. Now beginning. All those in favor of passing this bill?
Senate, we're not voting yet.
Senate votes next.
The current situation was established Any idea? Anyone in here ever heard of the Insular cases? Starting in 1901, where the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in special requirements and why Puerto Rico is treated the way it is today. One of my relatives was a justice on the U.S. Supreme Court that was a part of that ruling. And that's what you're trying to overcome now. This blows my mind. Wow. I want to say that I'm a nerd, and I love research, so as soon as I got this, I started going through, and man, you out-nerded me. This is so well argued. You backed up, your arguments are great, and you even saw unintended consequences. All right, check this out. Part of this is there is money for the disposal of old flags because they're going to have to be changed. That's awesome. Most people in Congress don't think of that. I sign this. Even if I can't sign it, I'm signing it. Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
Nadia, Weber County, can you guys give us the vote totals real quick in the House? First of all, the House of Representatives.
25 to 9.
25 to 9. And in the Senate?
15 to 3.
Okay, good. Notice I'm projecting my voice. I can't, it's hard to hear, so anybody speaking, you gotta speak up. If you're asking questions, please speak up. Okay? All right, speaker.
Okay. The speaker now recognizes Rachel Sorensen, a Democrat from Texas. She'll be presenting her bill on Adolescent Developmental Implementation of Life Skills Act. Representative, you have 4 minutes and your time starts now.
Okay, hi ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to start off with a question. How many of you feel confident and prepared to be an adult after high school and all the responsibilities that come with it? Raise your hand if you do. Okay, so as you can see, there's only about 1 or 2 hands up in the audience. This was inspiration for my bill because I agree with how most of you are feeling. The Board of Education states their mission is to promote student achievement and preparation for global competitiveness by fostering educational excellence and ensuring equal access. I believe they're unsuccessful in this mission as students are not taught critical life skills while in school. The bill I'm proposing is the Adolescent Development Implementation of Life Skills Act. It will provide students with necessary knowledge and skills to be able to navigate and excel in the working world post-graduation. Quality education will provide students with the capabilities required to make them economically productive,
This is the start of passing period 1. And Ms. Edgett, can you please call the escalator?
develop sustainable livelihoods, enhance individual well-being, and contribute to the community. In the current educational system, race can be a factor in the chances of success and self-reliance post-graduation. Students from low socioeconomic backgrounds have a 65% chance of becoming unemployed or in debt after graduation due to the achievement gap. This percentage is even lower for children without a stable 2-parent household. In the United States, this equates to 23% of the student population age 18 and under. This 23% is further increased by 49% for African Americans and 34% for adolescents of Hispanic backgrounds. I believe the federal government can shape the curriculum through promoting goals, content standards, and testing, as well as sponsoring legislation that influences curriculum in the education system. They will fund this bill with a categorical grant to encourage states' cooperation in implementing the specific purposes and programs of this bill. Any questions? Yes.
How much is the categorical grant and how much will it cost?
It's $500 million divided between the states that are wanting to be included in the incentive, so it'd be split evenly.
Representative Ritchie?
How are you going to fund this bill?
The Office of Career, Technical, and Adult Education, they have an annual budget of $1.9 billion, so this will be allocated from their budget to the Board of Education. Yes.
So this will have no, it'll have no effect on taxpayers?
No.
How would you divert funding from these programs? Like, how would you divert funding from the department that already oversees these, oversees this, to oversee it again? It seems kind of pointless to me.
Can you restate your question like a different way?
Basically what I'm saying is $1.9 billion is already devoted to this problem. Why would we just re-divert the same money to solve the same problem?
Well, because it's not solving the problem. That's the whole point of the bill. They're not accomplishing their mission that they state, and so reallocate. It wouldn't be taking any more money. It's just allocating it differently to accomplish the mission that they already have.
But where would you allocate it from? Like, what if there's already money in that department that's already tackling this problem? How would that change it?
I'm sorry, I don't understand your question.
So if you already have 1.9 billion in this department that's funding their salaries and trying to tackle the problem, how would taking 500 million of the money that's already being used to tackle the problem solve the problem?
Can I skip the question?
It's okay. Time's up. Anyways. Okay. Okay. We'll now turn to voting procedure. Order. Thank you. Moving into voting procedure.
Okay. All in favor?
I love the idea. I totally agree this is something we need in our schools. I like the approach, having a grant that the states could take, and if they took the money, they have to apply the thing. But then when I read the penalty phase, this is described as a federal mandate, which means that all states have to do it, and if they don't do it, they'll be tried in the Supreme Court of the United States. So because there's this disparity, I don't know, is this a mandate or is this a grant that states can take or not take? I'm not sure, and because of that, I'm sorry, I must veto the bill, even though I think it's a great idea.
So we have a vote for the override, 2/3. So our mathematicians over there figure out what 2/3 would be, and I guess we'll vote again. People's opinions may have changed given the president's statement.
You have 4 minutes. Your time starts now.
Okay. This bill proposes that we abolish the death penalty nationwide because it is economically inefficient. And instead, we redirect taxpayer money that would have gone towards capital punishment to improving the current federal prison system and rehabilitation facilities. So each death penalty case costs Texas taxpayers around $2.3 million, which is 3 times more than what taxpayers would pay to imprison someone for life. In fact, an observation made by Duke University School of Medicine suggests that capital trials are intentionally dragged out because defense lawyers are on the clock getting hefty hourly fees that are usually supported by tax dollars, which provides them with a strong financial incentive to drag these cases out as long as possible. Furthermore, capital punishment does not deter crime. When comparing countries that have outlawed the death penalty to countries that continue the practice, like the United States, for example, it is shown that countries that execute prisoners do not have lower crime rates than countries that do not execute prisoners. This bill will require virtually no funding because we just be redirecting taxpayer money that is already going towards criminal justice system. So instead of wasting money on an outdated and ineffective practice, these hundreds of thousands of dollars could be put towards offering educational and employment counseling in prisons, improving living conditions in prisons, and offering community rehabilitation for prisoners. Implementing these to prison systems have already been proven to reduce the risk of reincarceration. All right, any questions?
Representative Ritchie.
All right, so I have a problem with the bill in general. So you say stop wasting taxpayers' money on capital punishment, but right here you're just stopping the waste of money on the court case. If somebody is sentenced to life, they're still going to be spending a lot of money, a lot of taxpayer money, in their life sentence, people feeding them, stuff like that, right? So I don't think it's exactly fair to say that you're saving money here, because by preventing them from dying, you're actually increasing the amount of time that they're alive and spending taxpayer money. So inadvertently, you're increasing the amount of money by getting rid of capital punishment.
Sorry, what was your question? Question.
It wasn't a question, it was a statement.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Okay, Senator Padula?
So would you agree that
is that by doing the action you propose, it's more like investing money into prisoners so that they can become integrated members of society again, rather than just killing them, and then it just goes money into putting money into like a pit, rather than putting money back into prisoners, and then they can become citizens again.
Yes. Any other questions?
So you were talking about doing all these reforms to educate, to prisoner education and improvement of life quality, but like in the state of Texas, saving those these reforms are expensive, and I don't think saving those few $1 million will just be enough to cover it. I just don't see where the money's coming from.
Was that a question?
Is there an alternative? You have to get this money.
Sorry, can you restate your question, please?
Where is the money coming from for these reforms? Because saving the few $1 million from abolishing death penalty will not be enough.
Can you please restate your question? In a different way, please.
Would you not like to answer this question?
No, he can just restate it. I'm just asking him to restate the question.
So moving on to another question. I'm sorry, Representative.
I have a question about some of the long-term impacts. So if we're talking about, like for the prison system, then this might mean, like actually like working to like how do I want to phrase this, like reconstruction for the buildings or for the programs like Josh talked about.
Time's up.
Okay, all against? Okay, 20 is 16.
Did it pass or fail? Was it a fail or a pass?
Pass.
It passes in the Senate, but
Yeah,
I mean the
asking-
House.
Yeah. Senate, we are now moving into our voting procedures. All of those in favor? Okay, all those against?
Wow.
Yes! Please keep your hands up.
Excuse me, really quick, make sure we are not being disrespectful to the person presenting the bill. Yes, you may not agree with the bill, but you don't need to be disrespectful to them. They put work into the bill.
Okay, in the Senate, it comes out to 8 to 14. It fails in the Senate.
It does not pass. Clapping is not in order. Okay, we will now be moving on to Representative Reese Francisco, a Democrat from Florida, presenting Make America Green Again with a target.
Oh, it's the other way.
Okay. Okay, Representative, you have 4 minutes. Your time begins now.
Good afternoon, fellow Americans, Mr. President, representatives and Senate members, and most importantly, individuals who have the privilege to alter American society for the greater good. I stand before all of you with a problem that affects the environment we all cherish dearly. Our nation's recycling system is a catastrophic failure. Why is it a catastrophic failure? I'm afraid we citizens have taken the phrase land of the free too freely in terms of recycling. Please allow me to present to you some concerning facts regarding waste within the United States. The U.S. generates more than 12% of the planet's municipal solid waste, aka a waste type consisting of everyday waste items discarded by the public, despite only accounting for 4% of the world's population. Per the National Resources Defense Council, as of 2019, the U.S. produced 239 million tons of garbage annually. Furthermore, the U.S. also relies on single-stream recycling systems, in which recyclables of all sorts are placed into the same bin to be sorted and cleaned at recycling centers. While this may be easier on us consumers, it results in mixed streams of materials, leading it to be hard to sort and more expensive to process. The Environmental Protection Agency estimates that less than 10% of plastic thrown in bins in the last 40 years has been truly recycled. Now, what is the main reason for our extreme lack of recycling in comparison to competing countries?
The EPA explains that the main challenge facing Americans' current recycling system is that it can be difficult for consumers to understand what materials need to be recycled, how materials can be recycled, and where to recycle certain materials. But do not fear, as with most problems, there is always a solution. My solution. The EPA also analyzes the three-step process in which recycling occurs, which is collection, process, and remanufacturing into a new product. My bill determines that the EPA will modify the collection portion of the process through the development and implementation of 2 new waste bins that is required in all U.S. citizen households. The yellow bin will include the disposal of cans, aluminum, foil, tins, and plastic bottles, while the blue bin will dispose of newspapers, magazines, letters and envelopes, etc. The funding will require an amount of $500 million, which may seem like a lot, but in regard to the $76.49 billion available to the EPA in 2022, that is nothing. Might I also add that the EPA only planned to spend $19.51 billion of that amount, leaving $56.98 billion to spare. Similar to Germany's bond system, the U.S. will also adopt a principle that places an additional 50-cent tax on certain recycled products purchased by the general public. This tax may be reimbursed to the customer if returned to recycling machines that would be strategically placed across areas of convenience, such as strip malls, grocery stores, and shopping centers. If not returned, the money will simply go to both the business selling the item and eventually the federal government, because as we all know, our money finds its way there eventually. As for the construction of legally approved recycling machines, the EPA must contribute a total of $750 million of its $76 billion budget for this process to become achievable. Now, if you wish to make a difference for the greater good of our nation, I ask that together we vote clean, vote green, and let us achieve this dream. Thank you, America. It is time we make a difference. It is time we make America green again, one bill at a time. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light? Oh, okay. Rob. Sorry.
So you stated that aluminum, foil, and plastic bottles will all be placed in the same bin. How do you expect those to be sorted? Because you can't necessarily recycle those in the same way or to the same place.
Okay, yes, I understand. So basically, certain items will have a tax at which customers can get reimbursed. So plastic bottles and cans specifically will be placed into these recycling machines, which $750 million of the budget will be going towards. And that's where the plastic bottles can be thrown away, like certain ones. So it'll be easier, instead of it all being thrown into the same trash, it'll be easier for the recycling system, centers to process the items, which is why I also implemented the machines.
Time is up. We're now moving to voting procedure.
Sorry, Mr. House, all in favor? Okay, all against? Okay. That makes it 29-3.
Okay, moving into the Senate voting procedures, all those in favor? Okay. All those against? That comes out to 24-0.
Okay, this bill passes. Clapping is in order. Congratulations.
Oh, Reese, did you take your bill? Reese, did you take your bill?
No, it was the one that I had. I can copy.
Reese, would you like a copy to give you?
I have mine. Thank you. All right. As I look at the bill, there are some provisions I think that are troublesome. I think the dollar amounts are way low. That's tough to guesstimate how much it would cost to do this and how much it would cost more for collection and new trucks and new routes and new facilities. But I believe this is a great solution that our country needs, and I am going to sign it into law.
Okay. The speaker now recognizes Representative Brenna Mack, a Democrat from Virginia, presenting Menstrual Product Access Act. Let me know when you're ready.
Okay. There we go. It's a little.
Yep. Okay, Representative, you have 4 minutes. Your time starts now.
Mr. President, my fellow congressmen, I'm here today to present the Menstrual Product Access Act, which seeks to end period poverty and allow all women to access menstrual products. Not having access to these products impacts women's education, health, and overall condition of life. 66% of low-income women choose between buying food and buying menstrual products. 20% of female middle, high school, and college students don't have access to menstrual products, and 25% of these students do not attend school due to lack of access. This burden also falls unfairly on students of color. If menstrual products cannot be accessed easily, more dangerous alternatives are often found. Women have reported using rags, toilet paper, and children's diapers as replacements, which can lead to urogenital infections, which, if they are already living in poverty, they cannot take care of easily. Or often, products will be used for longer than their intended time, like with tampons, which can lead to toxic shock syndrome. To address these issues, this bill removes sales tax from menstrual products in the states that still have it. Products can be purchased at a reduced price using a Medicaid card at stores that with SNAP and WIC benefits. And then institutions with federal funding will be required to provide menstrual products in their restrooms. Any questions? Yes? Richie?
How much might that cost?
So for the states getting rid of the income tax, they will need a federal incentive to do so, which will be, they'll be reimbursed for what the sales tax would have brought in for 3 years, because by the end of those 3 years, hopefully more women are actually buying the products, and then that'll cover the loss of the sales tax. And then for the Medicaid cost, that'd be $20 million.
How would women buying more untaxed goods cover the...
Well, because sales tax is only like a small little bit added, which over time can accumulate to a lot. But like the actual cost of the products themselves is way more than the sales tax. So if more women buy the actual product, that's more money.
Yeah, but you're giving the money to the corporations. You're not giving it to the government. You're kind of just like bleeding taxpayer money here. Also, how much would it cost to put tampons in every federal building?
It's the institutions with federal funding will have to allocate parts of their own budget to do that. They are receiving federal grants already, and so they'll have to use some of that money to provide it.
I mean, they're already using that federal money, though. So it's kind of like, you're already using all the money. How are you going to get the money for the tampons?
Okay, Representative, we're moving on to other questions to allow other people the floor.
Yes.
Representative. Yeah.
How is this a federal issue and not a state issue?
Well, yeah. Well, part of this is it can be a federal issue because it deals with a population. It's like, it's just, this issue only affects women, and so this issue can be considered an issue of discrimination, which is addressed often by federal measures.
Okay, so you're saying there's a discriminatory law.
It's not officially discriminatory, but this burden usually falls only on women. Like, men do not menstruate. So, therefore it has.
So just to be clear, you are saying that you're going to take away funds from the state in order to do this by taking away the sales tax, and you're only reimbursing them for 3 years.
Yes.
So the companies would be making more money because the companies that are producing these products are making more money, so they would be paying more in taxes. So I think she's right that it would even out over 3 years to mean that the government is still paying money for that.
Harmony. Oh, just kidding. Time is up. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Sorry.
Now moving to voting procedure.
Yeah.
Moving to voting procedure. Okay, starting with the House. All in favor?
All against? Alright, there we go.
What? I'm just stating because I think there's some problems with taxing stuff. But I like the idea. So.
Okay, guys, we need to provide our opinions. We're just voting. Silence.
Okay. 22 to 3.
Sorry?
22 to 3.
Okay. Senate. We are now going to move into our voting procedures. All those in favor? Okay. All those against? Okay. The result is 12 to 3.
Okay, this bill does pass. Voting is in order. Congratulations.
As I look over the bill, there's one portion that gives me concern, and that is that all institutions that receive federal funds now are required to provide this. Federal funds go to a lot of places, but noting that concern, if somebody wants to challenge this down the road, they may do so on that grounds that it's too overreaching. But as of now, I would sign this into law.
Okay. The floor now recognizes Joshua Hewitt of Washington. You have 4 minutes. Your time starts now.
All right, I'll get right into it. So, similar to Representative Sorensen's bill, this is meant to prepare students after high school. Basically, we already have a business and personal finances class here, and taking that class, that was one of the most useful classes I've ever taken. It's definitely like the other required classes, like all the sciences, the English, and the math. Some of those I'm probably not going to use, but the stuff in this personal finances class is definitely going to be used outside of school. And so basically what this is it's going to be a categorical grant to all the states that can make 80% of their public high schools require business or a financial literacy class in their curriculum. So it's not forcing schools to do it. In the end, it's still up to the state, but it is merely giving an incentive to states of $5 million per state, adjusted for how many schools are there. About $5 million adjusted to states that are able to implement this policy into the curriculum. So basically, I don't have a whole lot to say besides that.
Me? Yes. Now, I like you, Josh. That's why I'm trying to speak up. But I do have some problems with offering $5 million to 50 states. That's, what, $250 million?
Overall, yes.
Do you think states would be likely to actually accept the money and implement it into the curriculum?
As in, if they met these requirements, would they take the money? I mean, they would take the money, or asking if they'd implement it, like use the actual funding?
I mean, like, would they be likely to actually pass the bill and follow it? Because $5 million per state, there's a lot of schools in the state. I'm not sure that would be enough money, like, per each state, especially for a large state like California. That might not even be enough for, like, half of the state. You know, it just seems like kind of a little amount.
So I was saying it's a bit adjusted, so states that have way more schools would get a bit more funding, and places that have less schools would get less funding. But a number of schools already have courses like this in place. So like we have business and personal finances. So it's merely just making it a required class instead of introducing a new class into all the schools.
Whoa,
So-
you're making it a required class?
Yes.
I'm not sure many students
We're
would
gonna
like that.
change somebody else. Platt.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know if you already said this, but where are you getting these funds from?
So this would mainly just be coming from our just income taxes. Yes.
Traditionally, educational curriculum is an issue of the state, so who are we to mandate that certain course curricular requirements be followed nationwide?
Like I've said before, it's not a mandate, it would be a grant. So it's giving incentive to change the curriculum, but in the end, we are not forcing the states to change the curriculum. It is still up to them. Because it is incentive to implement this policy.
So I noticed in your bill, and correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of this grant is only going towards states who are able to implement this in 80% of their school districts by a certain date. Do you think that's feasible for a lot of these schools like Texas, California, or New York who have a lot of school districts? Do you think it's feasible to achieve that by the state?
You're at. We're starting voting procedure now.
Okay, Senate, we are now moving into voting procedures. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. All those against? Okay. It passes 15-5 in the Senate.
Okay, moving on to the House, all in favor? All against? $14 to $20. Oh, this bill passes. No. Oh, does it pass?
Please proceed to session 2 if you haven't already done so. And Travis Asen, Alejandro Duque Lopez, and Ellie Pohl, please come to the SAO.
Now recognizes Andrew Hickman of Oklahoma with his fair and equal blood donation opportunity. You have 4 minutes.
Good afternoon, Americans. So gay and bisexual men and men who have sex with other men in general are unfairly restricted from donating blood in the U.S., even during the worst national blood shortage in over a decade. This is why my bill is to remove these discriminatory restrictions on donating blood. For some backstory, in 1983, during the HIV/AIDS epidemic, the FDA issued a lifetime ban on all gay men and other queer groups from donating blood in order to prevent transfusion-transmitted HIV. This was due to the lack of testing at the time and the height of the epidemic. Today, and since the 1990s, all blood is required by the American Red Cross to be screened through nucleic acid testing to check if HIV is present or not, as well as other blood-borne diseases such as hepatitis. This should mean that anyone now is able to donate blood freely, right? Incorrect. It wasn't until 2015 that the ban was lifted from a lifetime ban to 12 months or 1 year without having sex with other men, as well as specifically only men who have sex with men having these restrictions. And then again, during the COVID pandemic, which was when the blood shortage started, the restriction was shortened to 3 months of celibacy with other men before being able to donate blood. This restriction is counterproductive due to its discriminatory nature, as well as the fact that we are in a blood shortage and the American Red Cross should not be preventing people who are willing to donate blood from donating.
The discriminatory technicalities in this restriction include, but are not limited to, even men that are in a monogamous relationship, such as two husbands who have been married for, let's say, 5 years, and are only engaging in sexual activity with each other, are still not able to donate blood, even if they are tested and clean. Although a heterosexual individual who has sex quite frequently with many different partners can donate freely with no penalty, even untested. Certain blood drives offer people, especially college students, money if they donate their blood or plasma. Gay men are unfairly excluded from this privilege. Test centers put many men who have sex with men in uncomfortable positions where they have to out themselves in a public area and disclose their sexual activity to strangers, while nobody else is invaded like that. And if they are engaging in that behavior, they are then put on a list and have to go through tedious procedure in order to get their names off that list. To compare to another country, the UK has opened their restriction to men who have sex with men in monogamous relationships longer than 3 months to being able to donate blood, and they have not seen any spike in transfusion-transmitted HIV. Congress's action will be to lift these restrictions as to not target anybody for their sexuality, as well as aid the efforts to ending the national blood shortage. Are there any questions?
So, you said that the UK lifted their ban only on gay men who were in monogamous relationships, right?
Can you speak up?
You said that the study you cited, or the legislation you cited from the UK, cited that it only lifted the ban on gay men in monogamous relationships for 3 months, right?
Correct.
Okay, so I don't think you can exactly generalize that to lifting the ban on the entire gay community. Because if I had to guess, there's a reason the ban was in place, because they're clearly trying to shorten the lifetime. Like, do you know why the ban was instituted?
Yeah, so I did actually mention that during the height of the HIV/AIDS epidemic, they did not have testing at the time, so it was a risk that predominantly gay people would be infected with HIV. But today, that is not the truth anymore, and there is nucleic acid testing. Also, I compared the UK because although their ban is not completely lifted, their ban is still freer than ours, which is a complete ban on anyone who is having sex with men in a span of 3 months.
I'm just kind of, do you think there might be like an incubation period for AIDS?
Can I sit down?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're gonna move into the voting procedure now.
How do I get this off?
Senate, we're going to vote on this bill now. All those in favor? All those against? Okay. 19-2.
We now move on to House. All in favor? All against? Okay. 33-2.
This bill passes.
Thank you. Earlier, I made a confession that I am in fact a nerd, and I'm going to prove it here. When I got these bills this morning, I did some research, and as I read the bill, there was a question in my mind: if these tests exist, why would we discriminate against a group in society? So I went to the CDC, Center for Disease Control, and they said an estimated 1 in 450,000 people that donate blood, that get the test, still pass on the HIV virus. And I wanted to know why. Why would that happen if this test was good? Was it the test? So I went to the Canadian Blood Services, which handles blood in Canada. And they indicated that this test that is used to determine if there is HIV cannot detect, there's a 9-day window where a person could be infected with it and the test would not show it. Hence the number you saw from the CDC. So even with this test in place, it is still possible for someone that may be infected with the HIV virus to pass it on unsuspectingly to somebody getting a blood transfusion. On those grounds, I must veto the bill.
Okay, we're now moving to potential override voting.
Okay, Senate, if you want to override the veto, just raise your hand for. So if you're for overriding the veto, does not pass.
Okay, so this bill has officially been vetoed and the override did not pass. Okay, so the speaker now recognizes Natasha Olivares, the Republican from Illinois, presenting the Small Business Startup Service. Tell me when you're ready.
Okay. Let's go. Oops. Okay.
Representative, you have 4 minutes, starting now.
Okay. So my bill is a small business startup service. So I first want to recognize that the Small Business Association is supposed to reduce risk for lenders and makes it easier for small business owners to secure financing, but the process is lengthy. Borrowers must make a down payment, personal liability of the business defaults, slow approval processes, collateral could be required, and low credit applicants are generally not approved. The SBA reduces risk. No, I just said that. Disregard. So the Small Business Administration, they are irrelevant to small businesses, where an estimated 780,000 new businesses formed in the U.S. in 1995, where there were in 1995, and 98.4% were started without SBA loans. So today that number has decreased, but it is still significant and above 50%. So as of 2022, according to MoneyZine, 1.6 million jobs are generated by small businesses in the U.S., but again, 56% of business owners struggle to find the right employees, and the main issue with that are cash flow problems. And main reasons include the bankruptcy of those small businesses. So small businesses can continue to struggle and continue to struggle to stay relevant during prosperity and recession, such as we are facing in the U.S. right now. So despite supposedly having aid from these federal agencies, specifically the SBA, 20% of small businesses are still failing within the first year, and 50% fail over 5 years. So the Small Business Startup Service would work with startups providing small federal grants. We would range from $500 to $2,500, significantly lowering what the SBA currently gives, and if necessary, and our big responsibility would be working with the small businesses on their organization and fund management. We would suggest and help execute their agenda to maintain the function of their businesses, raising their success rate, and lowering the federal spending by decreasing the amount of possible grants. Providing just as many job opportunities, if not more, because we would then deploy and create our outside bureaus throughout the United States to help small businesses in specific areas. We would start at higher populations, but we would slowly spread to the lower ones, so as not to discriminate against those in lower density areas. So according to heritage.org, getting rid of this program would save $3.3 billion in 5 years. This program, we request $2.4 billion to create our headquarters and our small businesses, and by slowly taking apart the Small Business Administration, we would allocate those funds to create this business, as well as give back to the federal government to help lower our national debt. Any questions? No, I can't.
Sorry, so I just want to clarify. So this bill is lowering the amount that's being used to help small businesses?
Yes, we are decreasing the amount, and we are more focusing on helping them use these funds to generate larger ones. Because currently the SBA gives funds and expects these businesses to know how to use them, which is contributing to their bankruptcy and failure.
So would the funds be going to like teaching programs?
No, the funds would stay with the federal, and we would use it to help more businesses. Because we would create more bureaus to help up businesses in lower density populations, those who can't move to the big cities and start their businesses.
Representative Watson?
How would you decide where to establish your initial bureaus? Because I worry about regional, like elitism, especially because you're first doing it in urban areas instead of rural areas.
Yes, so our headquarters, we were going to keep it close to where the current Small Business Administration is. I do not know where that is at the top of my head, but we are going to keep it near the same place. We are going to try to keep the structure similar, but just break apart and slowly work out to those lower density areas. We do focus more on bigger populations just because we feel like we could help more people at a time in the beginning as we slowly progress in our expansion.
Time is now up. We will now move into voting procedure.
Starting with the House, all in favor?
Disregard.
All against? I swear, y'all do not know how to research something. Okay. 21 to 9.
21 to 5.
9.
Senate, all those in favor of this bill passing?
Raise your hands nice and high, guys.
Okay. All those against? Okay. This bill does not pass 4 to 9.
Okay, the bill does not pass, then clapping is not in order.
The sword breaker has arrived from his dentist.
Thank God.
So we're ahead of schedule. We have 17 minutes to get through 3 bills. We need to do that to get the sword breaker back to his spot. So let's keep moving. Yeah. So we'll go with Julia, and then Kalia, and then the sword breaker.
The floor now recognizes Julia Harris with her medical school and you have 4 minutes.
Good afternoon, members of Congress and Mr. President. My bill is the Medical School Improvement Plan. So as of recent decades, the U.S. is undergoing a shortage of medical professionals, especially being underscored by the recent pandemic and the urgent need for medical care across the nation. A recent study performed by the Association of American Medical Colleges predicted the shortage of primary care physicians alone to rise between 17,800 to 48,000 doctors by 2034. In regards to non-primary care specialties such as abdominal surgery, pediatric surgery, and other things, the shortage is even higher, ranging from 21,000 to 77,100 doctors by 2034. The normal path for medical school usually produces fully trained physicians after 10 to 14 years, a time that is too long to prevent these shortages in the medical world from occurring. Physician shortages limit the U.S.'s ability to provide care to all, excluding those who are impoverished. Less access to medical care decreases the health of American citizens and decreases their trust in the government. An increase in medical professionals is necessary for the U.S. to keep up with the growing U.S. population, estimated to be comprised of nearly 2/3 elderly people within the next decade, of which 90% will experience health challenges that need to be professionally addressed. Several European countries, such as England and Germany, which we live in, have medical programs that are standardized roughly to 6 years,
eliminating the additional 2 that America requires prior to residency, and both countries are extremely successful in this aspect. So Congress determines that the implementation of this program is meant to shorten and condense aspects of medical school pathway, and it will be incentivized by the federal government. Such government incentives for medical schools that agree to comply with this law are as follows. Block grants of roughly $100 million delegated to each school that agrees to implement the program, designated for the creation of a new curriculum and other necessities that the state deems necessary to prepare their schools for the changes. While this amount is a baseline, the amount of money given the grant will depend on the amount of schools within the state and the medical student population attending the schools. The implementation of this new curriculum will allow students to attend directly out of high school, eliminating the need for an undergraduate program prior to attending, but the new curriculum that are instituted by medical schools must meet the following requirements, including instead of lengthening, this will entail the abolishment of the 4-year undergraduate program, instead lengthening medical schools to 6 years, the first 2 years being general education requirements such as major sciences, such as biology, chemistry, physics, but overall shaving off 2 years from the 4-year undergraduate program. Curriculums must not eliminate necessary subjects needed for the success of students, but rather condense them into the 2-year series of required classes needed to advance to the next level, completed within the next 4 years. Due to the intense nature of the current requirement, which is the MCAT, in order to get into medical college, a new test will need to be created in order to allow high school students to apply to medical school. So similar to the SAT or the ACT, a new test will be developed. This test would be developed by a company that through the governmental bidding process would be awarded with a block grant of $30 million to $50 million to develop an exam that would be feasible for high school students to pass in order to allow their entrance into medical school. This exam would primarily deal with general sciences such as biology, physics, chemistry, anatomy, but also certain portions containing literacy and comprehension. And that
Okay, in the Senate, all in favor, please raise your hand. All against? Okay. 7 to 13, it does not pass.
Moving on to House, please raise your hand like this instead of this. All in favor? All against? to 11. This bill is not passed. We are going to move on to Kalia Momart with her Veggie Friendly School Alternative Lunch Program.
Just real quick, after Colin goes, Colin will go after school. We need to get a group picture of all the standing milk. Don't leave until you want to be in the yearbook, right? Okay. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so hello, I'm Kalia Momart, and my bill was about like basically a vegan and vegetarian lunch alternative program. So currently there is no law or USDA regulation that requires schools to serve a vegan or vegetarian option for students. And on top of that, there's a significant increase in vegan or vegetarian dieters for health reasons, religious reasons, animal welfare, or environmental reasons. And around 4% of all youths in America, which is about 3 million people, identify as these vegans. And 91% of all vegans in America or vegetarians agree that they struggle with finding dietary meals outside of their homes. And only 14% of schools offer an alternative lunch program. And so although many schools that are within that 14% provide an alternative option, there's no variety in those options, and there's only salad, and eating salads every day does not fulfill all the nutrition requirements set by the USDA. And some certain individuals, like students, don't have the time to prepare a home lunch and have to purchase their own, but cannot because there are no options available due to low quantity. And so basically my fund is $5 million per school district to be giving them funds for to not only give them like options like tofu, which is on an alternative meat option, but also reduce the cost because tofu is quite expensive. And these will be given to the NSLP, which is the National School Lunch Program, which ensures the low cost of lunch for all public or nonprofit private schools. And if the students don't, if the school does not comply with the fund after 2 corrections, then this fund will be taken away. And that's all.
Where will the money be coming from, and how many school districts do you think there are in the U.S.?
How
much money would you be spending?
There's 13,500 school districts, and the money will be coming from the government.
Where in the government?
The Department of Agriculture and our taxes.
There are still kids who are starving and you can't even afford school lunch. What places your bill above trying to make sure all kids get at least some meal rather than just kids who need that specific one?
Can you restate that?
Why should we put this bill above feeding kids who could eat food over kids who can't afford any?
Okay, well, some people have like health issues. Like, I know some people have like gluten allergies and like they're literally allergic to meat, or like they could be Muslim and they can't have any like beef or something like that. And that goes against like their own personal values. And yeah, that's why I'm doing this.
And building on that, again, there are still kids who can't eat at all, so they are also suffering from illnesses, contracting from that lack of food. And then kids who would like food going against their preference because they can't afford it. So.
Sure.
Okay, that was a statement.
How many people stand to benefit from this new program?
3 million and counting.
Jasmine?
Was the $5 million that you're giving each school district, is that per school year or just?
That's forever.
Would you agree that this bill is not focused on people that can't afford school lunches, that it's specifically focused on vegetarians and vegans, and therefore those other people should not be brought into the equation at all?
It can be given to, I mean, yeah. Okay.
Okay, all against? Okay. It does not pass the Senate.
And Bailey Lowe.
Okay, move on to the House.
6-14.
Move on to the House. All in favor? All against?
Ooh, boy.
Seven to 25. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, hello everyone. My name's Colin Carpenter, and I'm the author of the Swordbreaker Act. So, as you are all aware, U.S. interests in Ukraine, such as our construction of a military base in Poland, are being heavily threatened by the Russian invasion currently. And I look to rectify that issue. So, my bill proposes using $450 million to create 100 SM-6 hypersonic missiles to send to Ukraine in the defense against Russia. I yield my time. Please debate.
All I see is God bless America.
Grace, take charge. I can't hear.
Would this simply just send the missiles for Ukraine to use, or would we use them?
These missiles are being contracted by Raytheon to develop. We will ship them over to Ukraine, and Ukraine will use them in their self-defense against ballistic missiles.
How would this solve the issue? Wouldn't it like make it worse?
As you see, once Russia exhausts its resources, it will have no choice but to back down. So if we increase Ukraine's defenses, it will be a war of attrition that Ukraine will undoubtedly win.
Right, but what if Russia doesn't back down and they like nuke Ukraine or something? Yeah. The U.S. is giving them missiles.
Please note that we are already sending weapons to Ukraine currently.
You're right, but not missiles.
We're gonna take Ella. So, can you just explain what is our participation right now? Like, would that mean we're entering also the war, and the rest of our nation in danger because of this?
Keep in mind that there is no formal declaration of war between countries that are aiding Ukraine. For example, Norway is currently providing Ukraine with NASAMS missiles arrays, and they are not officially part of any war with Russia.
Lily, also making these missiles, when they come, like, where would the money be coming from to provide?
Recently, we have sold a bunch of SM-6 missiles to Japan for $450 million, and I plan to use that funding to create 100 of those missiles.
What are these like supersonic missiles that you're talking about?
Okay, the SM-6 missile is currently in use by our U.S. Navy. They're hypersonic missiles that are capable of intercepting ballistic missiles that are capable of breaking the sound barrier.
So they don't actually target anything themselves. They just take the missiles down that are already.
Yes, they're meant to be an interception system.
Just to be clear, when you spoke with the Senate, you stated that the missiles will be going through France and multiple countries to get to Ukraine. Have you changed that, or is that still the way you are transporting those missiles?
It's the same because it's not our problem.
And it is our problem because we're providing the missiles.
They'll take the missiles and they'll like it.
We're voting now.
Are you not entertained, people?
Senate, please raise your hand if you're in favor.
Okay, it passes the Senate round. Mutually assured destruction.
All in favor? All again?
Olivia Jones.
Do not go anywhere. What happened?
17 to 18.
Either way, thank you for your time.
The sword breaker was broken.